Okay, good. All right, as I said, I'm going to talk about the Ukraine witness today. And 3 years ago, July of 2023, I was part of a team of five of us from Heartland College in Virginia, a couple of people from there, two or three people from there, and then myself and another gentleman who runs a prayer ministry, a therapeutic prayer ministry. So I was in the VA in the cafeteria with my friend Paul, who came in to help me with some presentations to the veterans. And he got a phone call from this lady, Yvonne, who is like the vice president of Heartland College. And while he's on the phone, he's across the table from me. He says, "Well, I'm sitting with a chaplain right now." And then he also says, and he happens to train chaplains as well. That's one of my jobs is to train chaplains in chaplain ministry. So the next thing I know, I'm on the phone talking to Yvonne, and she's talking about, well, send me your curriculum, blah blah blah, and maybe it'll work out where you can come to Ukraine with us in July. And I did. So that's how this whole thing started. But I'm sharing these photos with you because the people in Ukraine, the Seventh-day Adventist churches that we were a part of, asked me to come back and tell you what's happening in Ukraine. I've been to other churches, and I've done this before here, but it was 2 or 3 years ago. So there's a lot of you that are newcomers here. And anyway, these are the Russian helicopters. Just a few of them, but 34 Russian helicopters came in out of the blue and landed at the airport. And their plan was to take over Bucha, which is where this town is with the airport. And then Kyiv was only, maybe 30 kilometers away. And then they figured they'd have the war won in 1 month. Obviously, that didn't happen. But a lot of carnage happened in the meantime. I'm not going to show you the carnage. I'm going to show you the miracles that happened at this little church in Ukraine. And it's Bucha is the home of an Adventist institute, their seminary, their college, their undergraduate program. It has a big church. They have dormitories. So we stayed there on campus, and we actually spoke in one of these meeting rooms that the Russian soldiers came in and kind of vandalized. So this is just a picture of a van, getting equipment to the people who were, surprised and by this attack. So let me tell you, a week before the invasion by the Russian helicopters, nobody in Ukraine believed that Russia was going to invade until a week before they invaded, because they're the same people. They're very similar. There's sections of Ukraine that speak Russian. Ukraine was part of the Soviet Union at one time. All right, so they're cousins. They're brothers and sisters. So they couldn't believe that Russia would ever come against them, and unfortunately they did. Now this is a bus. This is a school bus that they had on campus. This school bus would never start. The transmission is bad. It's an automatic, and it was just parked. And so Pastor Mackay, who was the pastor on the campus here, that's a dormitory behind it where we stayed, said, "This is all we have is the bus." And he and another pastor, Pastor Victor, who lived in town, were both impressed that they had to get the people off the campus. And the people on the campus were people from the community that were taking up residence now in the dormitories because they had a basement and it was kind of a fallout shelter for them while they were being under attack, all right? And you'll see a picture of them in a moment. But let me tell you about this bus. When that day came where both these pastors were convicted, they had to get their people off the campus. They got together, they loaded this bus up, they prayed, and guess what? The bus started, and even though the transmission wasn't perfect, they were able to drive off campus to a place of safety. Amen? It never started. God pulled the switch. There's another helicopter. So, this is like a middle-class neighborhood, right? Kind of like Santa Monica, right? And all of a sudden you see enemy helicopters coming in and landing at the Santa Monica airport, right? And then more of the aid. So this is the cafeteria at the Institute, the Ukraine Institute of Seventh-day Adventist Schools. And they're feeding them. These are community people, all right, that took shelter in the Adventist cafeteria, in the dormitories, and in the basements of the campus. These are the people in the neighborhood that found refuge in the Adventist campus. These are the mattresses that they found that they scurried out, and people are all sleeping together, on a floor, on a mattress, grateful for the mattress. Some of the people just spending the time, children. We have one lady, and then here the hallways are filled with backpacks and cots and beds. And they were there for a good 6 weeks. Brand new baby. Her brother. This is kind of the fallout shelter, the dungeon, the basement where they got together, and when bombs were dropping and missiles and whatnot. And then these are the faces of displaced people that were kicked out of their homes. I can't tell you how many homes I visited, and people would go and bring me rounds of mortar that had hit their homes. They had collected, right, and show me these little missiles and rockets that had invaded their space. But by God's grace, they were alive. So this is where we did our training. We were there for 2 weeks plus doing training for 60 brothers and sisters that came from all over the country to receive training as chaplains, as prayer warriors, as counselors, as life coaches, prayer partners, prayer ministries. So this is what the soldiers did. Remember I told you the two pastors were convinced that they had to get the people off the campus, right? The next day, the Russian army came in, and this is some of the stuff they did, all right? And had there been anybody on that campus, they would have killed them. So this was life and death. And then that was repaired by the time we got there. I mean, this is early in the war in 22. But what they marvel at, the Russian army left very quickly. Something spooked them on the Adventist campus. They didn't want to stay there and do more damage. They didn't even plant any mines, for people in the future. They did this minimal damage, what they could have done. Didn't take any computers, didn't break any computers. They just came and left. I'm sure there was a battalion of angels there that discouraged them from staying too long. This is live of what was happening in their town. The black smoke or bombs, letting off the smoke. And here's some of the devastation, from bombs, just leveling houses and, nature. So this was kind of a tour that we were on. Every time we left campus, we would see things like this. And even in the neighborhood. And more of the same. Here's a tank that they captured. And then, more devastation. And I'm showing you what I can show you. I'm not going to show you any dead bodies, but they were there. So it's really a story of miracles and massacre. And like I said, this is a nice middle class, area, beautiful, gardens and lots of, gardens for fresh vegetables. And then this is the team. So the gentleman on the left is Serhiy Lutsky. He's kind of a director in the union of over chaplaincy, personal ministries, healthcare ministries. Next to him is Pastor Victor. He's the one that walked 200 people off the campus. And as he was walking to and from the campus daily, he would get beat by the Russian soldiers. His wife, Elena, is next to him, and that's myself in the middle. Dr. Payan there is a psychologist. Yvonne is the woman who put all this together from Heartland. And that's my buddy Paul Conniff, who I met in Thailand in 2009. Been friends ever since. We were roommates together over there. And then this fella here is the son of Pastor Victor and his wife, Elena. So I have to stop the slide presentation there. And then I'm going to ask Michael, I don't know if he's back there, he's got some photos that we want to put on to see what's happening today in terms of the Adventist Church reaching out to displaced people, to the veterans on the front lines, so on and so forth. Is he back there? Oh, there he is. All right, he's gonna put these pictures up. I'm gonna, and this is the next pictures you see are going to be the results of our ministry here from this church. Okay, so you didn't know it, but you are global. You are international. You are making a difference in the lives of the people in Ukraine. That's all right. Go right ahead. You're the tech guy. You're a better tech guy than I am. That's pretty much it. Every picture tells a story. We have two organizations that we donate money to, and it has to go through the General Conference, and then it goes to the Ukraine Union. So there's two projects there that we're supporting. And these are by chaplains that I have trained over the period of the last 3 years. So, we did it in person while we were there, but now we have to do it by Zoom. So like once a week we would meet and have our training. Sure, yeah, and that's all right. But having been there, it makes a big difference when you walk away. Okay, so here's one of the veterans that is in the front lines. And then this lady in the middle, her name is Matusa, which means mother in Ukraine. This is the Ukrainian flag. These are two veterans in the front lines that are now getting rehab under Matusa's care. He runs a lifestyle center right up there on the front lines. And again, the flag, and there's more and more. They got a dog, a service dog that keeps them company. And you can see they got smiles on their faces. I mean, this is not usual for a veteran that's in the trenches. But just the relief from Matusa, a very loyal, faithful lady who pulls them out of the battles to bring them into a lifestyle center to give them support and therapy and healing. She does hydrotherapy. This guy loves his dog. The dog loves him. There he is. So these are men. They don't have women that serve in the military, just men. And if you're a male in Ukraine, you can't leave the country because they want you for service in the military. The chaplains in the military are not like the chaplains we have in the military. They're mostly Orthodox people, but they don't work for the military. They don't travel with their units. They pop in every now and then, but they don't have the constant presence of a chaplain as we do here. And here they are at the place where they're getting rehab. Food. This gentleman in the middle with his thumb up is another chaplain. These are volunteers that go to the front lines, and also volunteers that stay in the cities and work with the displaced people, the DPs. So she sets a nice table. It's all healthy. They're on the mend. Even the dog looks happy, right? And she'll get 2 at a time. She may get 5 at a time. Very, very humble places, but world of difference for the veterans. Just some relief. Here they are. And of course, this is communion. And here's Matusa again. She's an older woman, but she's got the spirit and the vigor of a young person. She just keeps on going and keeps on serving God. Yeah, it is. Ukraine, it borders Poland, and there's a lot of farmland in Ukraine. See the pretty colors. I don't know, those are butterflies or bees. I don't know what they are. But this is, one of their very humble cottages that, one or two veterans can stay in as they rehab. And there are some guys that, even when they rehab, they send them back too soon, too quick. So this is a church service in Ukrainian, singing songs, as we do here. Emelina's in the States, as you know. Yeah. So the people that have these ministries, they send me all these pictures so I know what they're doing, how they're serving, and what the results are. So seeing is definitely believing. Not that we don't trust them, it's just they want to share with us what their ministry is about. These are 3 veterans from the front lines, having some good soup, fellowship, good food, and a break in the action. And here's Matusa again. She's got the axe. She's ready to chop wood or open the can here. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. A woman with an axe, it all works. There it goes. But yeah, it's a beautiful country. It's a tragedy that it's so caught up in war. Fire going. And I have some pictures. I hope they'll show up here of what's happening in the cities, in Kyiv and other places. Um, yeah, that's a good question. I guess they got to stay warm. That's not a major river. It's just water, drinkable water, after they heat it up. Anyway, you get the idea. I don't know where the others are, if they're coming or not. I mean, we're on a video here, so I don't want to spend all our time. But our scripture readings for today have to do with our witness, our testimony. And in Revelation 12, verse 11, it says that they, meaning the saints of God, overcame him, meaning the enemy, Satan, the devil, by the blood of the Lamb, right? Jesus on the cross, right? The victory was won, secured. He won back dominion on planet Earth, and by the word of their testimony. So our testimony is important, just right alongside the blood of the Lamb, because the blood is his testimony, and what we do with our lives is our testimony. So it's important to have and to know what your testimony is and what you're doing today with your testimony. It's good to come every week and get refreshed and revived by the presence of the saints and the Spirit of God. But God wants us to be active in our faith. And there's a lot of opportunities here in Los Angeles to be active in our faith. We have a lot of homeless people. We have a lot of veterans that are displaced. We have a lot of people in general that are displaced. The church has to decide, what ministry do we want to do? We could do a food pantry. We could do a welfare organization to reach out to the people in the neighborhood. But let's do something, right? We're doing training for cooking schools and outreach for healing in that regard. But let's stay active and have a vision for what we can do in this area on Purdue Street. Because I work in the VA. I know the neighborhoods here. This is I think the only non-apartment building on the block. We could be out knocking on doors on Sabbath afternoons and just giving something away, just to say hello, just to become acquainted. If we can get into an apartment building, to say hello to our neighbors and invite them to services at some point. We have a lot of homeless people that we've been ministering to over the years that come here for food. They know they can get a good meal on Sabbath, and that's part of our ministry here is the food that we prepare on Sabbath. So anyway, I want you to think about that, and what would your vision be in going forward for the church, for all of us? I'm sorry? The other ministry that's happening there is what's called a DP, a displaced person ministry. We have a lady, her name is Tatiana. She just wants $300 so she can run a program every month for 30, 40, 50 displaced people. They have nowhere to stay because their homes were destroyed. And then, she does arts and crafts and, games and just kind of lifts the spirits so that they're smiling, they're enjoying life again. She's a therapist as well as a chaplain. And so, for $300 or $500, she can get a lot done, just like Matusa gets a lot done with just, $45 a day to take care of a veteran. So anyway, I just wanted to share it with you because we have to have a vision for our little church here. And then we have to walk into that vision and keep on moving with the vision. So God has a vision for us, but what is our vision for our ministry, our service here in the community? Seventh-day Adventist churches in Ukraine are Seventh-day Adventist churches 7 days a week. We are a Seventh-day Adventist church 1 day a week, if you can make that. You know what I'm saying? But a Seventh-day Adventist should be a Seventh-day Adventist 7 days a week. Amen? And I love what Jesus tells us. It's in the Gospel of Luke, as he's sending out 72 of his prime candidates to do the ministry, to share the ministry. It's in Luke 10, I believe. But I tell you, I came, when I was baptized, after I was baptized, I'm like, I got to do something. What can I do? And then my wife, showed me an ad in the Adventist Review. This is back in 1984, 85. To be a literature evangelist, to be a coal porter. You remember a coal porter, right? Yeah. So you go out, you sell books, you meet people, you engage with people, and it's the best thing I ever did. It prepared me for ministry. And you can be shy. It doesn't matter. You can be afraid to talk to people. You don't have to be a great salesman. God does the selling for you. But you meet people, you have experiences that you would never have otherwise. And that's a ministry. That's an entry-level ministry of the church. Do you know who the literature evangelists used to be called? The Marines of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, because they're the ones that went in and got the flames going, and then they'd come in and plant churches. In Hong Kong, they have Adventist churches. It was all started by a coal porter back in the late 1800s. We don't have a publishing program as we once did anymore. So, we've allowed the enemy to cripple us. And we've got to take that ground back. And it's one of the ministries, along with the health ministry, is going to go through to the time when Jesus is going to show up. All right? So there is something we can do all the way up until the second coming. Have a book in your hand, have a conversation, have a prayer with somebody. It makes a big difference. And then healing is also a big topic. So we're trying to engage in the health outreach here with cooking schools and training events, hydrotherapy. And then also, if you're retired, if you have some time on your hands, would you be willing to look into being a literature evangelist, is what we're called today, or a coal porter in the old days? And the coal porters go all the way back to the time of the Reformation. Martin Luther, they would print tracts and then go hand them out to the people in the towns and the villages and the cities. And that would help them to get the ground ready for a church gathering, a church people to come together. So, think about it. I don't have anything for you to sign today. First of all, please prayerfully consider sending $1 or $2 a month or whatever you can afford to Ukraine. It's going to the Adventist system in Ukraine, and it's going to go to these 2 projects that I've showed you some pictures of today. And be a part of that. As well, be a part of the vision. You know, the church has to set the vision. I can't come in and tell you what my vision is. The church has to have its own vision in connection with what God's vision is and what God would have us do here at this time in history. All right, so I was going to read from Luke chapter 10. So let me do that and we'll wrap it up. So here we go. This is Luke chapter 10. And Jesus is going to send out 70 of his disciples. This is what he says in verse 13. Luke chapter 10. Woe to you, Chorazin. Chorazin is the name of the city he's preaching in. You know, it's between Galilee and Nazareth. Woe to you, Bethsaida. For if the mighty works which were done in you, so this is where Jesus performed his miracles, okay? For if the mighty works which have been done in you, in your neighborhood, if they had been done in Tyre and Sidon, they would have repented long ago, sitting in sackcloth and ashes. But it will be more tolerable for Tyre and Sidon at the judgment than for you. And you, Capernaum, who are exalted in heaven, will be brought down to Hades. He who hears you hears me. He who rejects you rejects me. And he who rejects me rejects him who sent me. So there's a chain of command here. Then the 70 returned with joy, saying, Lord, even the demons are subject to us in your name. Right? Because he had empowered them. And he said to them, I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven. Behold, I give you the authority to trample on serpents and scorpions. So these are evil forces as well, symbolic of serpents and scorpions. And over all the power of the enemy, and nothing shall by any means hurt you. Now, how would you like to have that affirmation and that assurance before you go marching out there knocking on doors? You know you're going to win, right? This is what he's telling us. Nevertheless, do not rejoice in this, that the spirits are subject to you, meaning the fallen angels, the demons, but rather rejoice because your names are written in the book of life. So, Paul says, it's the love of Christ that compels us to share the good news with others. When we receive reconciliation, through baptism or, that moment in our hearts and minds where we accept Christ in, right? We are born as missionaries, straight out of the spirit of prophecy. Every Seventh-day Adventist who is baptized into the church is born a missionary. So we have a mission. We're part of the mission to spread the good news. Paul says that we are ambassadors for Christ. Who wants to be an ambassador for the United Nations? Anybody? If you're an ambassador in the United States, you get to get special license plates. It says, diplomat. And if you're driving and you're speeding, they can stop you, but they can't write you a ticket. Because you're under the flag of your home country and you have all the rights and privileges of whatever the home country that is. So if we're ambassadors for Christ, what flag are we marching under? Yeah, the flag of heaven, right? Yeah, that's our home. So you follow that up. That means, according to Paul, we have all the rights and privileges as citizens of heaven. Ask, it shall be given to you, right? Anything you ask in my name shall be done. So, witnessing, we can go out 2 by 2s, whatever it takes, just knocking on a door, giving a tract, saying hello. You need some laundry detergent. That's what they're doing in Michigan at a church plant, is they're giving laundry detergent out and they're telling people, this is like Jesus. He's going to wash your stains and they'll never come back. That's what he does with sin, right? And then they'll give some candy or some sweets out and say, this is like Jesus. He's sweeter than honey right out of the comb, right? So anyway, I just want to motivate you and myself to do something here in our community that we can talk about each week when we come back and give reports. Because the word of your testimony goes along with the blood of the Lamb. So we all have a testimony to share. And I'm not saying you're not living up to a testimony. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying, as a church, we need a vision and we got to follow that vision as a church. And then out of that vision comes our mission, and out of that mission comes our ministry. It's very, very simple. You got to have a ministry to go into a mission, to go into a vision. So we need to meet together and talk about what is our vision, what are our ministries, what mission are we on? And it's better to do this over food than it is in the sanctuary. Anyway, that's it. I'm sorry I couldn't share everything with you, but that's okay. No, I shared the other pictures with the other lady, with the displaced people. It's okay. We're going to let it go. Anyway, let's sing our closing songs and then go and have a bite to eat and talk about vision.